Showbiz glamour, however, was not on the agenda, according to Shane Rimmer. It started off in a studio on the Slough Train Estate, he says. We had a Sainsbury's on one side and the people who made Mars bars on the other. Think of any kind of a commercial estate, and we were on one of them. On most of these jobs, you got individual booths where you do your part. But Jerry didn't want that. He wanted an assemble, like a radio show at the BBC. We would record 3 scripts a day on a Sunday, says Graham, all gathered round the microphone, and of course, Jerry was there. There was a very small studio with 3 microphones hanging down, recalls Zimmerman. We used to stand up to do all the different voices. Jerry used to dole out voices. He'd say, "You can make this villain in the pyramid and make him sound like this." We were like a rep company. We had our laughs and it was a pleasure. There was Shane, myself, and my friend David Holliday. Sometimes we'd say, "You couldn't say that. They wouldn't understand that word in America." While Rimmer and Zimmerman mainly stuck to playing Scott and Alan, Graham found himself voicing multiple characters, also lending his skills to Thunderbird 4 Aquanaut Gordon Tracy. In Vault of Death, I played 2 villains, Parker and Light-Fingered Fred. Often I might be playing 2, 3, or even 4 characters on the page. From the technical point of view, I was able to switch from one to the other very easily. I never got confused because you just left a pause and switched to another character. If you know what you're going to hear the voice in your head, I never had a big problem with that. Rimmer is full of praise for his multiple voice co-stars. David, Graham and Ray Barrett, it rolled out of them. Maybe to make me feel better, Jerry said he liked to keep voice separate from anything else. David Graham was marvellous as Parker and Brains. Agrees Wilkin. He was the best of the lot of us. He was always been extremely good at making all sorts of interesting voices. He can come up with a voice for anything, I'll swear it. I can see Jerry in the control booth smoking a cigar, says Zimmerman, casting his mind back. He would direct from there, occasionally pressing the button to talk to Sylvia, adds Wilkin. Sylvia was very helpful in taking what Jerry was telling us and then encouraging us to do it all like that. They were a very good team, very good at doing that job. Jerry in particular really had his hand in everything. He controlled everything very tightly. He was very good to work for because he was very honest. If he didn't like something, he'd tell you. He liked that. Numerous scripts had already been recorded when Lou Grade of distributor ITC ordered that Thunderbirds should be extended. It started off as a half-hour show, says Rimmer. Lou was brought down to the viewing theatre by Jerry. He said it was no good. Jerry almost fell off his chair. It had to be an hour, so it changed it right then. Before Lou Gray came on the scene, you couldn't get anything on American television if it wasn't made in America. Thunderbirds helped to break that up. It paved the way for a lot of things to follow after that. Did the success of Thunderbirds take any of the cast by surprise? Well, it was just a puppet show, wasn't it? Laughs Zimmerman mischievously. Then suddenly it took off. and everybody wanted to know about the voices. When I kept getting phone calls, I realized this was something special. The initial enthusiasm went on for quite some time, continues Rimmer. We finally got to realize we were onto something that had a very good chance of staying around. The scripts were better than any other children's programs. Instead of looking down on the audience, most of them quite young, they proposed things in the series that were not quite childlike. I was just in awe of the whole brilliance of the filming, the special effects. Graham adds, when you went into the studio, you saw all those tiny little sets which on screen looked like major locations. It was the skill of all those people. It was like a children's comic, claims Wilkin. The way the characters were made, created as those puppets. The movement was very eccentric and strange. I think that's the part of the appeal. Rimmer laughs at the idea that the Thunderbirds gig was in any way ludicrous. The studio rates for the voice in those days was absolutely deplorable. I think we got something like 15 or 20 quid an episode. Can you imagine? Years later, Matt and I got a solicitor and said, this looks ridiculous, and this is the sort of money we got. The solicitor got us an immense raise in the residues. Jerry once told me the Thunderbirds would be my pension, says Zimmerman, and he was absolutely right. Virgil still come in from all over the world. We still get the odd check, Wilkins confirms. Sometimes it's tuppence, but it's amazing to have this connection that goes way back. Graham says of his co-stars, I've known them for nearly 60 years. We still meet and have lunch and do conventions. Sometimes you get rather eccentric characters there, but it's all part and parcel of the business. One owes it to the fans. They're so nice, and when you have young kids coming up to the table, it's just so sweet. It's amazing that at my not so young age, I'm still involved in the series. I was invited back to play Parker again in the new series, Thunderbirds Are Go. Although I'm in my late 80s, my voice hasn't changed too much over the years. Of the many characters he performed for Thunderbirds, from Parker to Brains and Kyrano, does Graham have a favourite? Well, I would say Parker, he replies fondly, because it's become so famous and I always ask to do it. Whenever I just say something, people dissolve into laughter. Thunderbirds will always be a big part of my life, says Zimmerman. I had a workman in and he was telling me what I wanted done. Suddenly he stopped and said, You're Alan Tracy. That's Alan Tracy's voice. I couldn't believe it. I asked if I got a discount. Oh, absolutely. My God, it's just as important as anything else I did, believes Wilkin. I think it's about the excellence. Thunderbirds was excellently carried through, and that's what's important. We've all become friends over the years, and I really had a marvellous time. It was an absolute godsend. I was raised in a family, and I had something steady like that. We did it on Sundays, so it didn't affect our other work. For Rimmer, Thunderbirds was the start of a working relationship that would see him writing episodes for Anderson's shows such as Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons and the Protectors. It's lovely to be part of something that was just brown nowhere and became an impact. It was all due to the people directing it who were in charge of it. The voices were there and everything else, but it had to be molded into something that made it different. And it has to be different in what you're doing. Otherwise, people would just say, yeah, it was pretty good. This made a deeper impact. It seems appropriate to give David Graham, voice of so many memorable Thunderbird characters, the last word. It sits hugely in my affection. Hugely a visionary. That's the word for Jerry Anderson. He was a quiet man, a shy man, but so highly skilled. To think up that story, well, the rest is history, isn't it?